latest ITV news in the Tyne region with Payne and Amy Lee.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining us.
On tonight's programme, living under a cloud, the residents of Northumberland homes flooded twice in 6 months who worry every time it rains, and we discover planning paperwork not properly signed off.
Just living with fear every single time you see a dark cloud. The trauma that we've all gone through with these houses, it's something that you'd struggle to come back from.
And they're not alone. Our year-long investigation has found planning breaches across the country and exposed gaps in the rush to build more homes.
Also on the programme, cracks emerging. Sunderland's Labour group backs calls to save the city's National Glass Centre from closure.
First tonight, to the homeowners in Northumberland who saw their houses devastated by flooding twice in just 6 months, and the planning breaches uncovered in its wake.
The houses built by developer Gleeson Homes flooded in April and October 2024. We've since discovered that plans to maintain underground drainage hadn't been approved, and no evidence that they were being inspected was submitted to the council. Gleeson Homes say there's absolutely no connection between the two.
In a year-long investigation, our Northumberland correspondent Tom Barton has found evidence of similar breaches across the country. Here's his exclusive report.
This floodgate is the only thing that stands between Danielle and potential disaster. Every time there's heavy rain, she fits it across the front door of her new-built house, in the hope it'll keep the water out if it rises again.
It's not quite the big home I had in mind. To a flooded house.
Her home, along with 8 others on this street in Blythe, was hit by flooding after heavy rain in April 2024, and then again that October, as a month's rain fell in one day.
So obviously it's not very homely.
Flooded twice in the space of 6 months.
Just been kind of taking my time doing things, didn't want to kind of fix everything up straight away in case worse did happen again.
Danielle says she's unable to get insurance cover against flooding and is scared to spend the money needed to make her house feel like home. The fear that it could happen again, ever present.
At the time, I know it might sound dramatic, but it felt like the kind of end of the world. Obviously it's just really kind of difficult, obviously feeling kind of really anxious. Because it's happened twice, even if someone said it's never going to happen again, them anxieties I think are naturally still going to be there. I found it the flooding itself I found probably quite dramatic.
So this one is April 9th, 2024.
Nick was also flooded, the water destroying not just his kitchen and carpets, but much loved keepsakes as well.
Just living with fear every single time you see a dark cloud. The trauma that we've all gone through with these houses, it's something that you'd struggle to come back from.
You use the word trauma. It must just have such a big impact on every aspect of your life.
It's kept me up at night, absolutely. It's plagues like nightmares. It is something that doesn't leave you no matter what you do. It's always in the back of your head, a constant thought.
After seeing Danielle and Nick's situation, I wanted to find out more about their estate and discovered that 2024 wasn't the first time their street had been affected by flooding. Danielle's house and the land for Nick's house were photographed by a local resident, surrounded by floodwater while they were still being built in 2019. While a government flood map shows there's a high risk of surface water flooding on parts of their street. Having discovered there was a known risk of surface water flooding, I took a look at what drainage provisions had been put in place. The plans show that across this estate are underground tanks, which are designed to give the water somewhere to go when there's heavy rain, so that the estate doesn't flood. But I've uncovered evidence which shows that for more than 6 years, the maintenance plans for those tanks weren't approved by the local council, and that no inspection logs were submitted either.
After the first flood, the kitchen was ruined.
We can't can't say whether that had an impact on the two floods that happened in Blythe, and Gleeson Homes say the flooding was caused by failures in the water company's drainage system. But Danielle feels let down.
Maybe people should have kept to their end of the bargain. Just like how I kept to my contract, didn't put a caravan on my drive, didn't change the drive, you know, all these silly rules that you're not allowed to do. Stuck to their rules, stuck to everyone's rules. But yeah.
And they weren't sticking to the rules that they should have been sticking
I don't think so, no.
How badly do you feel you've been let down?
Massively, by a lot of people.
In total, I found 10 estates around the country where Gleeson Homes breached planning conditions relating to the submission and approval of surface water drainage plans. On 4 developments, they missed a legal deadline by more than 6 years. In many cases, the breach was considered technical. On one of those developments near Chesterfield, there was also flooding during Storm Babette in 2023, though Gleeson says this was caused by a partly blocked valve that was not under its control. There's no evidence of problems on the other estates.
Yes, the plan with all the sustainable drainage sites.
I shared what I've uncovered with Professor Simin Davoudi, a former planning officer for Northumberland County Council, who now holds the chair of town planning at Newcastle University.
Well, I am shocked, as you know, in the same way that anybody else would be shocked, given that this has happened several times and by the same applicant. It is a bit surprising and maybe shocking to hear that nothing's done about it, or at least it hasn't raised some kind of a red flag.
Part of the problem, according to Professor Davoudi, is that planning departments don't have enough resources to check that developers are doing what they should be.
A Royal Town Planning Institute's survey was done back in 2022, and it found that less than 50% of local authorities have the capacity to monitor compliance with planning conditions, or even compliance with the enforcement notices issued by the local authorities.
The maintenance plans for the drainage on this estate were finally approved in July last year. But for some of those who live here, the fear of flooding hasn't yet gone away.
And Tom joins us now in the studio. So Tom, what have Gleeson Homes had to say about your investigation?
Well, Amy, as you heard in my report, Gleeson say that the flooding that happened in Blythe was caused by failures in Northumbrian Water's drainage system and could have been avoided if upgrades had been carried out. Northumbrian Water told us that the flooding was caused by unprecedented levels of rainfall and high tides. Since the flooding, they've made a £4 million upgrade to increase capacity in the local sewage pumping system. They've also supplied residents with flood protection, including flood doors and the flood gates that you saw in my report. Gleeson Homes also told us that they work with local agencies to mitigate potential issues and say that the development in Blythe was not and is still not deemed a flood risk by the Environment Agency. The Environment Agency, though, disputes this. They told us that they are only required to be consulted on flood risk from rivers and the sea, not surface water, which would instead be assessed by the local authority. Gleeson also said that there is no connection between the time taken to gain approvals and flooding issues. They added that the formal clearance of planning conditions is a lengthy process, made more difficult by well-documented delays in planning departments. But they said this does not delay any necessary works.
Tom, you're helping us through the complexities of this. We heard also criticism of the planning system.
Yes, absolutely, Ian. The government told us that it is investing £48 million to strengthen planning capacity and will ensure that new developments are safe from flood risks, with stronger requirements for developers to put in place sensible mitigation plans. Meanwhile, the Local Government Association, which represents councils, told us that whilst councils play a lead role in protecting communities from flooding, over 96% of planning decisions follow the Environment Agency's risk advice.
Tom, you said in your report that you found other examples of planning breaches.
Yeah, that's right, Amy. This investigation has taken more than a year, I started looking into Gleeson Homes after meeting Danielle and Nick in the aftermath of that flood in October 2024. And I've worked with the team from ITV's Tonight programme to make a documentary about what I've found. You can watch the programme Floods, New Build Nightmares this evening on ITV1 at 7:30.
There's a lot of work gone into that, Tom. Thank you very much indeed. Next tonight, to the calls to halt the closure of Sunderland's National Glass Centre amid claims that the costs estimated to repair the building are too high. It's set to shut in July after its owner, Sunderland University, says it's too expensive to fix.
The group fighting to save it say the university has got its sums wrong, and their campaign now has local political backing. Johnny Blair reports.
14 million to 45 million. That's the price tag to repair the National Glass Centre, and one of the main reasons it's slated to close, according to its owner, Sunderland University. The city's Labour group, however, is calling for a halt after questioning those calculations. The university says it's done its sums. Have you done yours?
We've done our sums. We think it's a lot less than that as well. I think we can get to somewhere around £6 or £7 million to carry out fundamental improvements. This is formally the Labour group position. I've already spoken to the leaders of the opposition parties because we'll be looking for full support, cross-party support.
They're working with a campaign group which is fighting to save the centre. Some members meet here every week for updates.
This is an amazing place. It's actually a really important part of the community in Sunderland, but it's also a really important part of the glassmaking community as well. This place has produced world-class artists, and it should continue to do so.
The centre opened in 1998, celebrating glassmaking and art with demonstrations, exhibitions and workshops. It was earmarked to shut in 2023. The University of Sunderland told us it's 3 years since the university first announced the closure of the National Glass Centre. Since then, no individual or organisation has come forward with a feasible plan to cover the cost of the capital works required on the building, nor has anyone proposed a way of covering the £800,000 annual subsidy provided by the university to cover the running costs. The campaign group and its supporters say they won't stop. The closure is set for the end of July, a date with the sands of time running out. Johnny Blair, ITV News, Sunderland.
The ITV Evening News continues after us at 6:30 tonight with Charlene White.
The Manchester United co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe says he's sorry that his choice of language has offended some people. It follows him saying the UK had been colonised by immigrants, comments which the Prime Minister called offensive and wrong. A nursery worker who sexually abused toddlers in his care is sentenced to 18 years in prison. And the place, which hasn't seen a ray of sunshine in weeks, claims an unusual record. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Well, as we've just seen there, it's not perhaps been beach weather today. More wind, rain and big waves battering the east coast.
But at Whitby, around 70 people shrugged off the damp in a show of support for one of the town's unsung assets.
It's the cliff lift, which gives access to North Yorkshire's only blue flag beach. But it could be bulldozed because officials say that it could cost up to £600,000 to bring it back into working order. John Hill reports.
High tide today, and only the determined dog walkers among us were braving the elements on Whitby sea wall. But access to this prime beachfront could be about to get much trickier, whatever the weather. Up on the cliffs, a noisy show of support for the town's threatened cliff lift. It opened in 1931, but shut in 2022. Water damage and corrosion the culprits. Next month, North Yorkshire councillors may decide to concrete it over for good, blaming a possible repair bill of £600,000. Many locals are unhappy.
For my mum, she's now 94, and for her to come down to the beach, it's quite impossible without the lift.
In the wheelchair, even when if it's only slightly damp, because it's a massive steep incline, and the wheelchair sometimes slides. And if you hadn't been railed there, many a time, ended up in North Sea.
There are alternative routes to and from the beach, less direct, less steep, paths a couple of 100 yards away in either direction. But these paths here, locals know them as the zigzags, these are the most direct and the steepest. And yes, down is perhaps all right, but up, even if you don't have mobility issues, well, it's a challenge. Sandra, you know that the council have got a responsibility to taxpayers to get value for money. Maybe this just isn't worth it.
Well, do you know what? I absolutely understand that. But you've got to look at the position of Whitby in the tourism industry. We punch far above our weight bringing in the financial revenue towards that tourism budget, and it deserves to be looked after.
Since the lift was mothballed, North Yorkshire Council has run a free summer bus to and from the sea wall. When councillors meet to decide the fate of that and the lift, they can now be in little doubt about the strength of feeling in this proud and resolute town. John Hill, ITV News, Whitby.
Yeah, campaigners braving the weather there. Here it is time for sports, and as Sunderland discovered last night, nothing lasts forever, Simon.
Yeah, the unbeaten Premier League home record has gone. 12 top-flight teams had tried and failed to win at the Stadium of Light this season. That was a Premier League record for a newly promoted club. But reigning champions Liverpool proved to be unlucky number 13 for the Black Cats. Wearside's weather foreshadowed the fall of Wearside's football fortress. Liverpool finally came up with a question.
It's been genuinely astonishing. I think if you'd said to people at the start of the season, we all turned up for that West Ham game not knowing what was going to come next, and I think if you'd said then that we'd be having this conversation in February after the Arsenal game, after the Man City game, we would never have believed it. It's been an unbelievable period.
The atmosphere was good, as it has been all season.
It wasn't easy for Liverpool to win here, so it's the most important thing for me. We want to be brave, we want to be intense, we want to be hard to play, and it was the case.
We were until tonight unbeaten at home, and good team, good manager.
So it's done, and now we want to keep this place hard to play, and that will be the case.
I do think back to when we kind of tumbled out of this league, however many years ago it was now in the stadium, I just felt like a bit of a shell because the team was so poor. Every match day feels like a massive occasion here. The crowd have got that real kind of connection with the players. They sense the important moments in the game. I don't worry in a sense. I think that someone have almost got their soul back at the Stadium of Light, and I don't worry about one result. I think over the next season or two, I think this is going to be a really powerful thing as they look to try and stabilise at the level.
The fortress may have fallen, but Sunderland's home comforts have made their return to the Premier League more comfortable than most people could have imagined.
Yeah, indeed. It was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? Reggie Lebrou says it's done. But it's done its job. That home record has been incredibly valuable for Sunderland.
It's absolutely been the bedrock of their season, and it's got them most of the way down the road to where they want to go. Never forget there's only one job for the Black Cats in their first season back in the Premier League, and that's to make sure there's a second season in the Premier League. You look at the league table, and they're not definitely safe, but with 12 games to go, they're in a brilliant position, and 26 of the 36 points they've got so far were earned during that run at home. Look, Liverpool deserved to win last night. No one is going to argue with that. But the Stadium of Light's once again become a place that even the best teams don't enjoy coming to. That can only be good news for Sunderland. I think another feather in Sunderland's cap last night, the great tributes to the late George Forster, the 99-year-old former head of the Sunderland Supporters Association. Beautifully measured. It was a really, really nice tribute.
It was a minute's applause, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And it was also named on the back of the programme.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Wonderful.
I'll leave you with a dramatic finish. York City and Hartlepool United served up a double twist in the tail in the National League. Hartlepool thought they'd poked a hole in the Minster men's promotion plans when Charlie Caton made it 2-2 in the 97th minute. But there was still time for York's Josh Stones to win it from the spot 13 minutes into stoppage time.
Wow. Simon, thank you very much.
You love a dramatic finish. We're going to stay with sport, the Winter Olympics to be precise. Now, we haven't got any North East athletes in Team GB, but we do have some former Olympians who are really enjoying, like we all are, watching the Games of 2026.
One of them is figure skater Gina Fulton-Carter. She became an Olympian in Calgary in 1988, and she came in earlier to share some of her memories. Gina, thanks for coming in. It's great to see you. Your moment on the world stage came when you were 17. 1988 in Calgary, a figure skater. What was it like at the Olympic Games?
Well, Well, it had been my dream from being 9 years old when I set foot onto the ice, and it was just a moment that obviously I will never forget. The day that I actually skated, I can still remember the noise of the barrier shutting and seeing my name up there saying Gina Fulton, and knew that is your moment. You have 4 minutes to show the world.
You'd first set foot on the ice as a 9-year-old at Crowtree Rink in Sunderland, hadn't you?
Yes.
Sadly, that's not there anymore. We've still got Billingham, we've still got Whitby Bay, we've lost Crowtree, we've lost Durham. We had a strong North East representation in the squad when you were there. There was yourself, there was Joanne Conway, who had started at Whitby Bay, there was the pairs from Billingham, Neil and Lisa. When you look at the 2026 games, is it slightly frustrating, or because you were a coach as well, that we haven't got the youngsters there now?
Yes, because we do have the talent, for sure. But I do believe that they will, at some point, we will have skaters come through the system again, especially from the northeast.
The games that you were at, as well as the figure skating and the ice skating and all the other events, it was Jamaica Cool Runnings, the bobsleigh, people will remember that. It was Eddie the Eagle. There you go, there's a photograph of you amongst your memorabilia and your accreditation, and that's you with Eddie. It was quite a party to be at, wasn't it?
Yes, he was a great guy, and he was a big part of the team as well.
Yeah, I bet he was. I bet he was.
Yeah.
Last night we
that one tiny mistake.
And also when you watch it, you've brought in some other things. I'm going to show these to the viewers very quickly because this must make you want to still be part of it. There's your blazer from the closing ceremony in Calgary, which I think is absolutely wonderful because it was really cold, as you would expect. A big duffel coat there as well with the Great Britain. And my favourite one is this. Rodeo from C&A, the team tracksuit.
Yeah.
Do you wish you were still out there wearing these and being part of the British team now?
Yes, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
I bet you would.
Whether my body would now is a different thing, but yeah.
I bet you are full of pride. You really should be. Thanks for sharing your memories with us and enjoy watching the rest of the games.
Thank you.
There's Olympics pictures from TNT Sports where you can watch the games. More of our chat with Gina on ITVX. Let's get the weather with Ross.
Hello, good evening. Yes, the rain continues to pour. I can only apologise about that. I've gone back to actually night before last where the rain started to work its way through, and for many parts of the region that rain hasn't stopped falling for well over a day. The totals really adding up in parts of Northumberland, nearly 2 inches of rainfall, 48 millimetres, and again it continues to pour. However, overnight there's a bit of a change. Temperatures are set to drop, and so that rain starts to come with a warning. We've got warnings for snow and ice, particularly over higher ground. 5 centimetres above 200 metres, as much as 10 centimetres above 300 metres, and that risk of ice into tomorrow morning. However, all of this does signal a change, and finally, through the next few days, it's looking drier and brighter. Let's take a look.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors ITV Tyne Tees weather.
Before we see those brighter breaks developing, still a lot of clouds around overnight, bringing the spells of rain, hitting that colder air, and so we'll start to see that snow and ice developing. But yes, as that clears through, we start to see the sunshine finally developing. It does signal that change. Low pressure out towards the west, that has been the setup for a long time now, but it's starting to get shaken up as we head overnight into tomorrow. It's dropping its way down towards the south. A ridge of high pressure taking us into Saturday. Some beautiful blue skies first thing through the weekend. Then we're back to a more mobile pattern. Yes, low pressure systems are nearby. Further wet and windy weather will come, but to make a difference, actually, it does move its way through, and either side will see at least something in the way of sunshine. For now, though, we've got all that cloud, the spells of rain over the higher ground, snow, even down to lower levels as we head into the early hours. We could see a bit of snow starting to accumulate as temperatures will be hovering at around freezing, certainly in the countryside. Temperatures for towns and cities at around 1 or 2 degrees. So wintry start into tomorrow morning. First thing, there's a lot of cloud around, further spells of patchy rain and wintriness. As we head into the afternoon, we'll start to see a slight change in wind direction. The cloud is beginning to thin and break. Brighter skies developing, a sign of things to come. Temperature-wise, just 4 degrees. That's the best we can expect. And in those winds, it's feeling closer to freezing. But through Friday and into Saturday, we're starting to see those showers disappear. Overnight, the ridge of high pressure dominating, clear skies, lighter breezes, frosty and icy start into Saturday morning. But there's plenty of sunshine around. For most of us, we're looking at unbroken blue skies. Later on, the cloud will start to thicken from the west, and patchy rain arriving through Sunday, but still holding on to those brighter breaks.
TUI sponsors ITV Tyne Tees Weather.
Thank you, Ross, and thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.